The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Moore. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans.
Well, beam me up for another TCT Tuesday. Is Talkin Cowboys crew is in the SWBC Mortgage Studios, and the gang is here minus numero uno. KY and definitely no jelly today is on in the building. He's not here today. Maybe. And so I'm with my guy, and the closer we get to the draft, I will definitely make sure that I acknowledge that you are the 4th round pick, 103rd pick
103
in the 2007 draft. My man Isaiah Stanback, you-dub is in the building. My man and Super Bowl champion, throw the magazines up. And man, P, how many nicknames do you have so far? Since we've joined the show, we've given you like
probably 3 in my life, and then since joined the show, probably like 23.
23.
Something like that. Yes. Yeah.
So
it's expanded.
Rob Phillips.
Yes.
Rob P. Island.
Right.
Trinidad P.
Ooh.
Just P.
Ooh.
Blue Bonnet P. Blue Bonnet P. Rob P.
Easter P.
Easter P is in the building.
We got like 2 this morning when I walked in.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
No, that's what it's rough, man. It's a rough crowd. We're going to welcome you as soon as you come
we
through
need
the
to
door.
get a T-shirt with all his nicknames.
I'm telling you.
That's a good idea.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Every week you get a new one. Now it's just going blue bonnets every time we see you.
Sprinkles.
Man, we got another Tuesday, guys. I got a good show planned. Plenty of action on the questions today. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about all of the things that we have in the rundown. But, P, we got some serious business to take care of. And obviously, I'm going to give you the floor because I want to get the kind of the rundown of the deadlines on how everything transpired. And we're talking about Kelvin Joseph and you know, the serious charges that he has right now.
Yeah, I think with a situation like this, the best thing I think I could do is just tell everybody what we know, because there's so much that we don't know right now with that case, that investigation. And I guess we'll just start with what happened, I think almost a month ago to the day. Cameron Ray, and this is the most important part of the story. Right. A man lost his life. Yep. Cameron Ray, 20 years old, was in the lower Greenville district of Dallas, was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting. There was a Dallas police investigation, and Kelvin Joseph was wanted for questioning because of surveillance video that surfaced about his connection to a group that was in that car that shot Cameron Ray allegedly. So he spoke to investigators last week. 2 other men have been arrested in connection to that shooting. I think that happened on Saturday over the weekend. And there has not been an arrest of Kelvin Joseph, or he has not been charged with anything either. But as far as we know, the investigation is still open. So beyond that, I don't know where it goes from here for Kelvin Joseph, other than it's my understanding he was here in the building taking part in the start of the Cowboys voluntary offseason program yesterday. So I think based on what's happened to this point, and the Cowboys appear to be just letting this situation play out legally and see what happens, because there hasn't been any movement from them in terms of, hey, we're just monitoring the situation. That was the essence of their statement last week.
And Isaiah, let me ask you this, man. From being in the locker room and having knowing, having your teammates there and guys that you rely on heavily, how does this affect a locker room when you have one of your teammates have these serious accusations and obviously the videotape and everything? How does that in the locker room? How does that permeate in the locker room?
Not good. There's been a number of teams that I've been on, especially here in Dallas, where we had a lot of controversial players on a team, going back to, whether people want to call it T.O. controversial. You got, Pac-Man Jones and his illegal issues that he had. You had, Tank Johnson, the issues that he had legally. it's one of those things where you don't want that conversation revolving around your team, especially when you're trying to launch a season, you're trying to launch an off-season program, you're trying to have everybody's eyes on the prize, and hey, this is what we're going to do going forward. This is what we're going to make up for last year, and then you have this thrown in the mix. To Rob's point, it's really unfortunate that a young man lost his life. I think it's eye-opening in terms of gentlemen on this team, in this locker room, and even with amongst the league. Watching who you're hanging out with, watching the circle that you keep, the company that you keep. It's a unfortunate situation. It's a terrible look. Obviously, you already mentioned that this case is still open. I think as of yesterday, I think two of the gentlemen that he was presumably with have admitted to what their role in it.
Yeah.
So there's no telling in terms of, can you even depend on Kelvin Joseph now? In terms of the draft coming up, it changes everything in terms of the GM and the scouting department. Now it's like, okay, somebody that we were relying on as a 1-year kind of project. Hopefully they were hoping that he would have contributed last year, but now definitely, we talked about it last week or the week before, that they were going to be laying their head on him in terms of him trying to step up this year. Now, what do you do going into the draft? Do you replace him? Do you take somebody at that high? Because there's probably something, he's probably going to be attached to this in some form or fashion, right? So you can expect there to be some form of suspension at some point in time, regardless of how severe that may be. There's a whole lot. I don't want to speculate on anything. There's a lot that's going to come down, but it changes a lot in terms of your team's expectations and who they can really rely on.
Yeah, that's the other side of this thing too. And again, the biggest factor or part of this story is that someone died.
Yes.
Here. And I forgot to mention, because Isaiah, you jogged my memory here. There was a statement made by Kelvin Joseph's attorney to the Morning News here in Dallas that yes, he was a passenger in the car, but he was not the shooter. He was unarmed. He didn't want any part of what happened. So that's where that stands at this point. But to your point, Isaiah, that's from a football perspective, we've seen with the Cowboys in different legal situations or accusations, it doesn't take a charge or an arrest to be penalized by the NFL, face some kind of discipline. So there may not be a resolution from the Cowboys side, Kelvin Joseph's side, for it could be weeks, it could be months. We just don't know at this point.
Yeah, and I think, guys, we obviously want to be very sensitive because this is a legal matter, and no charges has been brought against Kelvin Joseph. For me, guys, when we got the group text about what was going on, and I was ticked off about it, genuinely ticked off about it, because growing up in a community where these kind of things happen too often, and looking at what's happening in our country of things like this that are happening way too often, I hold no punches when I say I am not a gun advocate. I am the opposite on that spectrum, and I'm cool to everybody that does. But when you come to the state of Texas, you better get used to it, because this is just what it is. I'm disappointed in this lifestyle and where common sense isn't really common. In situations like this that could easily be resolved, someone goes to picking up a pistol or whatever weapon you have, and a life is lost. Like you said, that's the story, Cameron Ray.
Right.
A young man that's 20 years old, and that's what I'm saying. That's not common sense for a mother to have to bury her child. You can't even fathom it. I can't even think of it. And I have a son, a teenage son, that I try and talk to every day about his surroundings and the people that he's talking to and what he's doing with them, because it's way too easy to get caught up in a situation like this if you come from certain environments.
Yes.
We think that when you're a millionaire now, life should be changed. You should know better than that. Kelvin Joseph is 21 years old, and let me tell you something. When I think about where I was at 21 years old, it's nothing but the grace of the Lord that I am here functioning. So I want to handle this with the matter of grace as well, because I want for young men that are in situations like this to think and say to themselves that I have way more to lose than the company that I'm around. And so, look, I'm going to leave it at that so that we can get on with the rest of this show, because we have an awesome show, but that had to be talked about. Yep. But in other news, off-season workouts have started. Well, voluntold workouts have started, and everybody, I believe that we have all hands on deck. Everyone that's supposed to be here is here, which is Everyone.
I don't have a head count, but usually it is. Usually guys, and going back to when Isaiah was playing here, I mean, the attendance is usually pretty good because guys, it's a good place to live. Guys don't really live outside of state in the off season. That makes it easier to do, and it also helps if, and I'm not every guy has this, but if you have workout bonuses built into your contract, Bingo. It doesn't hurt to show up for 5 weeks, get some lifts in, take part of some OTAs, and get a nice check on top of your game checks when the season starts.
Man, funny story. Quick story. Rookie year. Everybody gets drafted. We go down to, I believe it was San Antonio, and we're hanging out there, and it's the night before practice starts, right? Like, hey, and none of the rookies have been signed yet. None of us. Right? None of the draft picks have been signed.
That's crazy. Back in the day, that was yeah.
So this was the thing. So the reason why there was such a hang-up the night before, right, not knowing if you were going to practice the first day, was because they had a clause in our contracts that said if you're not present for 70+% of the offseason workouts, then they don't have to pay you a certain percentage of your salary. It was some kind of verbiage like that. And so everybody was like, heck no, we ain't signing this. You know what I mean? Like we were together, one little bond, right? Just nobody's doing it.
The trust tree.
Yeah, the trust tree. The circle of trust, right? Deion Anderson's agent signs the deal.
Oh, man.
Agrees to the deal. Everybody had to follow suit after that. Right? It wasn't a problem because we were going to be here anyways. But there, as you think about Randy Gregory, right, and the verbiage that are in these contracts, there's little things like that you have to pay a lot of attention to, and maybe those things contribute to the population and contribute, and what I'm saying, in the participation in the offseason workouts. There's little tricky things like that play a part.
So you mean to tell me that one domino fell? And
everybody had to fall.
That's ringing a bell, man. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was the night before, and the night before Christmas, doggone it.
Man, well, what does that do for your team as far as the camaraderie? Isaiah, obviously, the rookies are here. They're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, feeling like an NFL, feeling like a pro. But then you have those wily veterans that are here that's laughing probably at the young guys coming in. What was your experience with that? Obviously, knowing that, look, man, I'm fighting for a position to get on this team.
I think it's very important. It's awesome that you get back in the saddle. Especially coming off of a year for all the guys that are returning, coming off of last year, and the disappointment of that. You want to get back to work as soon as possible. You had your little vacation. You got to go out the country, hang out with your fam, your lady, all that kind of jazz. Yeah. Spend some time, relax for about a week or two off of working out, get back on it. Now it's time to start putting your mind back on the prize again, and that is trying to get that doggone Lombardi, right? You were a couple games away from that thing, and that is the worst feeling in the world, knowing you were 3 games away, and ta-da, you're back home just like everybody else in the league. So it's awesome when you can get all these guys back in the locker room. You haven't seen guys in a while. You got the camaraderie. COVID is kind of going away in terms of all the restrictions regarding that. So we know how strenuous and uptight that has been over the past few years. So this should be a huge offseason for the guys, and they should be more than excited to see each other, participate in workouts. It's not a straight grind day one. They work you into it, right? But it's awesome to see all your boys again.
Now, you saw Dalton Schultz had some great things to say about having Dak healthy last year. Dak really couldn't participate in the voluntary workouts. He was here in the building, but more rehabbing from the ankle injury. What is that, in just your estimation in the offseason, obviously with everything that they're going to have to get in the cupboards now, how big and how effective is that going to be for this team in the team building part?
I think it's huge. I think it's probably the single most important thing they could get done this offseason is have Dak not worrying about that part of his offseason. He's going to have probably management style things to do with his ankle probably the rest of his career, but it's not a straight up a months-long rehab thing that he's dealing with. And yeah, Schultz talked about that. Like, they've had these captain workouts the last few weeks where you can show up and it's not supervised by coaches. It's just guys out doing strength and conditioning stuff. But guys are getting together on their own and throwing, and he said we've already gotten together with guys doing that, way more so than last year because of Dak's situation. That to me, when you're talking about the quarterback position and that importance to your overall team success, that's the biggest thing they can accomplish this offseason, in my opinion. And along with what Isaiah spoke about, the camaraderie. We talked to Dante Fowler last week. Here's a new guy coming in who has met only a few guys, played with a couple guys past in his career. played for Dan Quinn, gets to meet everybody, build that camaraderie. I think that is important, even though for the first couple weeks there's no football involved. You're just getting your lift in, getting your running in.
Zay, I want to get to the bazooka. Poor guy, I got to get to the bazooka.
I saw him at the fight the other night.
Boy, and I'm telling you, he's looking slim and trim. All right, he's looking slim and trim. But
didn't you say he was going to come back at like 290?
I didn't say 290.
I think you did.
I said like 80. Yeah, 275, 280. Because I'm going to go ahead and start my campaign. He's not that. He is not that. But how important for a guy like this coming off of a monster rookie season and just the offseason, the workouts, how pivotal. I mean, you obviously the years that you've played and physically you probably got bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't know how you can add on anything. But I'm just saying for Micah, in his position, how does he, continue to grow as a player in this offseason?
It's huge. I mean, you talk about the physical aspect of the game. This portion of the year is so crucial because of the fact that you have this window of time from April until August to put on as much mass as you possibly can. Because the reality is you build up all this muscle. We have Harold Nash, who was the head strength coach here. I had him as an assistant strength coach in New England. He's a beast. He walks around looking like a little swole bowling ball, okay? Right. When you're with him, you're going to lift some weights. So they have a heck of a leadership team in regards to that. And he's going to have opportunity to spend the entire offseason with him, right, from now until August. So they're going to be able to get him on a dietitian, with the dietitian, get him on the strength and conditioning program, right, be able to work with the coaches, see exactly what the game plan is. Once the draft settles in, they'll have more of an idea in terms of how they want to utilize him. I'm sure they already have that idea. But now once you have the pieces in place, okay, we need you more of a linebacker role, or we need to put some more mass on you because you're going to have your hand in the ground a little bit more than we expected initially, depending on what comes onto our roster. So it's huge in terms of the time span that they get to work with their coaches and their leadership. And then in terms of his actual leadership aspect, it's huge because now you're not coming in as the rookie. Now you're coming in as a guy who was one of the most impactful players in the league last year. But what is that going to do to your psyche? Are you going to be big-headed? Are you going to come in and take the leadership role? Right? What role are you going to really play? Because it's easy to get high and mighty when everybody's saying, "Oh, Micah Parsons, oh, bazooka, oh my God," right? Does that change your approach in the offseason? Because guys that are now coming on to the team, they might respect your play, but they don't have to respect you as a person. Right. So that's going to be interesting to see what role he takes on in that regard.
How do you think it affects him as far as Dan Quinn now, knowing what he has and implementing his system? And that's what I kind of was hearing what you're saying, but now taking that leadership role, that's probably the thing that you're saying is most important in this offseason for him.
Yeah, it was big because you think about last year, it was an experiment.
Exactly.
Last year was an experiment. As you went throughout the season, they kept trying things out. Okay, hey, we're going to try him at linebacker, and we're going to blitz him up in this gap. Okay, that worked. Cool. All right, now let's go ahead and move him outside. We had a defensive end that's hurt. Let's put him on the outside. Oh, crap, he can rush too. Okay, let's go ahead and put him man-to-man coverage on the running back. Everything was an experiment. Now, he knocked everything out the park. He passed every test with flying colors. However, it was an experiment. So now you know what he's capable of, right? You put the green dot on him or whatever it was. Okay, you put the dot on his helmet. Not so much. Too much on him. Okay, now you have a whole offseason to let him grow into that role. You're not trying to force that on him. You're not throwing that on him and seeing, hey, if we throw that on him, that might be too much for him and we might lose the game in the process. Right. Now you know exactly what you have and you can build him into that role that you have for him.
And don't you feel the same way about Osa Odighizuwa and Chauncey Golston and players like that were contributors, especially Osa Odighizuwa and having that domination that he had at the defensive front, how pivotal the offseason is for players like him.
Absolutely. He's a guy I don't know we've talked about that much in terms of how much he played, how much he contributed, and then because I think Neville Gallimore comes back midseason, and we didn't forget about Osa, but he was a vital starter that first half of the season, and then they get a couple vets back, and then it's like, okay, he can take a little bit of a breath here. But they're relying on him next season. They're relying on Chauncey Golston, like you said, who, by the way, missed all of training camp last year and a couple games into the season, and then all of a sudden now you got to hit the ground running in the middle of your first regular season that you didn't have any training for. So I think this will be beneficial for him. And you're right about Micah. Like, you think about how remarkable it was for him. Experiment's a good word because week 1 against Tampa Bay, he's covering Gronkowski and Fournette. He's basically in coverage the whole time, rushing a little bit. Week 2, Tank breaks his foot, and Dan Quinn's like, nah, you're going to be an edge rusher for 50 snaps.
Right.
I don't know if he was ready for that, but he handled it, and he became one of the best defensive players in the league.
And so let's just call it experiment or test drive. They recognize the kind of vehicle that they have, and they're going to drive the hell out of it going into his second season. But I think that brings me, to this point, Isaiah. The team has changed so much over the offseason and lack of moves or whatever. Do you think, like you being in the locker room and knowing the culture of how guys talk, do you think that these guys are saying, man, okay, so Coop's gone, Gregory's gone, all right, we got this guy. I mean,
it's a sore subject with IRS.
But I'm just,
that's tough.
I know. Hey, I know who to ask, right? The hot button question.
Yes, you would.
So, are these guys talking and saying, man, we need some help around here? Or are they saying we can work with what we got?
As a competitor, as a professional athlete, you're going to, when you speak on it, okay, when you mention, are they talking about it? When you speak on it, you're going to speak with confidence. You're going to speak as if, you have the pieces that you need. You're going to go out there and work as we can make this thing happen, okay? If we're the reality, okay, behind the scenes, in your head, okay, you're going to be like, man, we slim.
Yeah.
Right? We're slim at this position.
We got James Washington, Simi Fehoko.
Yeah, like we're slim. Certain positions, regardless of what those positions are, you're slim, right? So that's the reality. But is that something that you're going to outwardly talk about? No, right? Just like there's a whole lot of topics in this world that we don't talk about outwardly, but you talk about it behind the scenes, right? It's the same thing. You acknowledge the reality, right? But depending on the position that you're in, if you're a starter already and you're already cemented in that position, you're not tripping. We're good. We're Gucci, okay? If I'm offensive lineman, I would like a veteran in there, but the vets are gone, so we're going to be getting a rookie in here, most likely at guard, okay? You just recognize that reality, and you say, okay, as soon as a young man gets in here, we got work to do, right? We have to get linked up. We got to have some kind of continuity. If you're a young guy, or if you're a guy that's a little bit down on the depth chart, no, don't bring nobody in here. Don't. We're actually okay, guys. Don't worry about
it. If you're Simi right now,
if you're Simi right now, you're like, no, please don't draft nobody, right? You're like, no. So you want every rep that you can get because you recognize I'm on the bubble.
Yeah, I'll play receiver. I'll play tight end.
Hey,
I'll put on some weight. Whatever you want me to do.
If you're Simi, you better be taking every rep, lifting every weight. Every special teams be in freaking bones, fossils, hip pocket, because he's going to be your best friend. And you recognize that anybody that they bring in here, I've been in that situation all too many times in my career, right? I was a special teams core guy. That was my role. I never became a big-time receiver, right? The most receiver I played was in New England with Moss and Welker and all that stuff. That was the most I played. Other than that, I was a special teams dude, okay? I recognized that was my value, right? So when they brought in somebody for a workout or they brought somebody else on the team, I knew where I had to shine.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to necessarily outshine somebody at the receiver position. My whole career, I was still trying to figure that out, right? But in terms of special teams, oh, yeah, you're not beating me on special teams, right? So I understood where my value was, understood where my advantage was, and those type of players have to figure that out, right? Now, if you're in no man's lane or you're on Rob P. Island trying to wait for the next ride to come along, you're probably not going to make it, because if you're not a core guy at the receiver position, if you're not a core guy on special team, then where are you? Right? And that's the same to be said with defensive backs, defensive linemen. You're a linebacker in this team, you're probably on the roster. But that's about it.
Talk that talk, Isaiah. And this is coming from a fourth-round draft pick that, hey, worked his way to a Super Bowl championship. So pound on that, my brother. And we are 10 days away from the draft, and everybody is trying to figure out, what is Jerry going to do? And he said, I'm going to tease this, where we moving on up. Hey, so y'all hang with us here on this TCT Tuesday. We'll be right back.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching Grandma how to video call and teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Head to the Star in Frisco for the 2022 Cowboys Draft presented by Miller Lite from on Thursday, April 28th through Saturday, April 30th. Enjoy live draft coverage and entertainment, a free youth camp on Friday night, and the Draft Day 5K presented by Baylor, Scott, and White on Saturday morning. For more details, visit DallasCowboys.com/draft. Running the 5K, brother.
You think KY No Jelly's gonna run in that?
No doubt.
Yeah, he's in it.
He's in it.
He's doing the virtual. Remember, he said he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it virtually.
Oh, he's gonna do the what?
Virtual.
Tell him we don't no more. Tell him the mask mandate's gone on the airplane. He's good.
Okay, well, look,
he has about 5 shows to do in that morning, so he's probably not gonna be able to
I forgot about his magazine.
Better put it up there.
His magazine.
Better put it up there.
See it right there.
It's the draft. I was about to call it the Draft Bible. Won't do that because I want to pass go. It is the Star magazine, and
now
you
available in digital and print.
Mm-hmm. Buy 2, buy 3, get you some. I tell you what,
there may be a read next to your right hand.
Get that guy.
All right. What you say?
Is there a read there on the table?
I read it
for the draft guide.
I did. I read it.
We're good,
right? Gucci.
Yeah. No. The 2022 Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine Draft Guide is now available in local pro shops and select regional outlets, print as well as online digital. The print edition will be available on Fanatics soon.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. I'm sorry. I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me. You know what? I don't understand unless you say, does that make sense? So,
hey, what's your college of choice?
For what?
Just like I'm UW, he's A&M.
Kansas State.
K-State?
K-State. Wildcats.
All day. Okay.
Yeah, Wildcats all day.
They got some fast dudes that come out of there. Lockett, T-New.
Barrett Brooks, big guy, Pittsburgh Steeler.
Okay.
Heckman Harrison.
I mean, come on, throw some names out.
Come on,
yeah. But, yeah, you claim A&M on everything, and you already know you
dumb.
Don't even question this man over here about you dumb. But guys, we have the draft coming up, and
that's next week.
This 24th pick is starting to heat up on what the Cowboys are going to do because they have emptied the reserves. and so when the question was posed last week about what are we going to do in the draft, I was the only one, I'm tooting my horn here, that said we would move up, and Jerry echoed that.
Man, Jerry said, that's a great way to ask that question. Yeah, we'll be interested in that.
We'll be interested in that. We're moving up.
We're moving on up.
We're moving on up, George Jefferson style. Yeah, man, come on. So I'm telling you. So, guys, what do you think? And I want to ask this question because I know that at 24, you are thinking offensive lineman. But if you move up in this draft, you probably have an opportunity to get some real studs. And so,
what are you giving up?
What position?
I mean, let's say best if you get.
Don't do this, Heckman.
Why?
Don't do this, Heckman.
Let's get crazy.
No, don't get crazy.
Isaiah doesn't want a receiver in the first round, much less trade up for a receiver in the first round. And let's couch real quick, because Jerry, he did say it was a general question about your draft philosophy.
Yes.
Trade up, trade down. And he did specifically mention trading up, but he did say also maybe somewhere in the first 3 rounds. He didn't say necessarily first round, but it is interesting. It's interesting that he's throwing that out there as a possibility. Like, hey, my phone's on.
Exactly. That's exactly what that was.
My phone's on.
Yeah.
You know,
call waiting.
Yeah.
Guys, there is a possibility that you can go up and really get you a stud cornerback. I'm just saying.
Don't do this.
Cornerback.
Don't
do this.
There are so many things you could do. You could go up and you can go and get you a stud left tackle.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying these are can't miss. These are can't miss items at the top. You can also go up and get you a stud defensive edge rusher.
No.
How far are you willing to go up?
I want to go into. If I'm going to go up, I'm going to the top 10.
Okay.
I'm dancing with.
You're not going to have none no other picks.
So I just had this discussion with Dave upstairs, Dave Hellman, and they apparently I missed the draft show. Sorry, Kyle. Sorry, Dave. This morning they talked kind of the same thing. So Chris was there. So So there's draft charts out there, right? And it's not a Bible, but it's kind of a guide on what the point system might be if you wanted to move up. So Dave and I were just playing around up there just now. If you wanted to jump from 24 into the top 10, say number 9, okay? According to one draft chart, it would cost you the number 9 pick would be valued at 1,350 points. If you gave up your first round to 24, 56, your second round pick, and your 5th round pick, that wouldn't quite get you there. That'd be like 1,100 points. So you might have to dip in a little further into your draft pool to do that. But either way, it's going to be multiple picks to do something like that. Now, apparently, Peter King had a story out there that said this draft is not as great as past drafts, and so it wouldn't require as much equity necessarily to move up as past years. But either way, man, for a team that's got a lot of needs, you willing to trade multiple picks?
Don't do it. Reconsider.
Listen, here's the thing. Who's more desperate for a championship at this point? 26 years of mediocrity. You want to make this move. If you have an opportunity to shore up your offensive line with a stud.
You would have did it in the offseason already.
But you couldn't. I mean, come on. I mean, you would have to pay the price for that on an offensive line that you already have big contracts on. I think you want this guy to be a rookie. You want that paper to be come on, or unless you're getting those B level offensive linemen.
Heck, man, if the Dallas Cowboys make the decision to trade up in the first round, I can see them maybe moving up, maybe 7, 8. I can say maybe 14.
I can't believe you being so conservative right now. This is the guy, the blank check Zale.
Because you're talking about trading away your draft equity, which we know is necessary this year. It's a necessity this year because they have a lot of holes to fill. If you were going to make a move, an aggressive move, it should have been on a free agent.
Fellas, let me ask you this, though, really. And all the importance that we're putting on the draft, how many of those players actually come in and contribute the first year? I mean,
that's fair. That's fair because usually you're looking at 3 guys, maybe something that really, like we just mentioned, Osa steps in and obviously the bazooka. But, yeah, it's not your whole draft class. That's why when we talk about, they've got 4 5th-round picks.
Those guys aren't playing.
Your former teammate, Orlando Scandrick, was the last 5th-round pick that really became a starter for this team. But on the flip side, I would say, based off of your needs, you need your 2nd-round pick to be a starter. Like, you don't just need your 1st-round pick to hit. You have to nail this draft, and that's why I would be hesitant to do that. I hear you, though. You got a better chance of getting a
Jimmy.
Yeah. I'm listening, but I hear you, but I'm not listening. You got a better chance of getting a Micah Parsons in the top 10 than you do at 24. You do? I hear you there.
A guy that's going to contribute immediately. And right now, the way that this draft is shaping up, I have questions all the way through. It stops at 10. For me, every other guy after that, I have a big question mark on. Even these offensive linemen. I think that all of these offensive linemen, that especially the guards that they're talking about, these guys should have a 2nd-round grade. In any other draft, because you don't have the number of quarterbacks at the top of this draft, some of these guys would have failed completely out of the 1st-round draft. And we're talking draft as far as a grade or a pick. There are teams that are going to reach significantly on drafts. And you talk about teams like the Jets or other franchises that have multiple 1st-round picks. you got some dancing partners up there. And I think that's why Jerry said, depending on who's on the other line and what deal can actually be made. Because historically speaking, your draft picks haven't been able to go straight off the bus and play for you in the last couple of years. You'd like to think that they have. So the actual capital that you think you're drafting away is really, it's going to pay off for you on the return because of his immediate ability to play right now.
Can you afford to come out of this draft without having the depth that you need going into the camp?
You're not going to get all the depth out of the draft.
I didn't say all of it. I'm not saying all of it, but you need to fill some holes.
Okay.
You have some gaping holes that if you decide to move up in the first round, you are not going to be able to fill even a little bit, not even with a Q-tip. Q-tip ain't going to be able to fill them holes.
So so let's go to the wide receiver. Let's go to the wide receiver position. Okay, wide receiver position, and this is a thin draft in wide receiver. Yeah,
you think so?
I thought it was deep.
You thought it? For me, for the talent.
For a guy that can step in and be.
That's all I'm saying. Okay. Immediate impact guys. I think it's thin. I think a lot of those guys that you have are just developmental guys. You don't have a burner. The guy that is a burner got an ACL. So let's talk about it.
Jameson Williams.
Right. Yeah. And so if we're saying a guy that I think that can come straight off the street and play right now, it's the kid from Arkansas, Burke. Okay. But I don't think he's a first round draft pick. I would say high second if he falls down that far. That's just my opinion. Okay. But offensive line, I know you need, but I'm thinking that you still can get offensive linemen if that's the holes that you're talking about filling in the second and third round also.
So based on that thinking, would it make more sense to trade down then?
Maybe in another round.
Bingo.
Not out of the because for the reasons you just brought up, that's why I'm kind of thinking if you're going to trade, maybe you trade down because I'm thinking the Travis Frederick deal they made in 2013. If you don't have a lot of first round grades, if you don't have 24 first round grades, which typically maybe you don't anyway,
right?
You could trade back a few picks if there's a guy you still think you could get that you like, pick up an extra third, whatever. And like Isaiah said, you're creating volume here, and it is a draft where. Maybe there's not a lot of home run guys like you're saying, but it is a deeper draft because of COVID, because you guys had an extra year and now they're coming into the draft, and maybe this is a year where volume of picks works more. That's kind of where I'm at, more so than trading up. If they had done more in free agency, I'd feel better about moving up, honestly.
And I think the situation is fluid as well, because on draft night, if there's a guy that you've been looking at in the top 10 or thinking he would be in the top 10 and he falls completely out because, I don't know, Detroit goes up and picks a quarterback.
That's a great point, and maybe that's what Jerry's referring to, or maybe in part, because he did say first 3 rounds, well, maybe generally speaking, but that's what happened with CeeDee Lamb. He just kind of fell to him. And maybe he's just talking about being flexible. Like if a guy falls, like you said, maybe not 20 picks, trade up 20 picks, but enough picks where, hey, we can jump up a little bit and get our guy. Maybe that's more realistic.
So Isaiah, put your GM hat on.
I always have mine on.
All right, we'll keep it on tight.
Thank you, Scully.
You're at 24 and you're sitting there and you're saying, look, if one of these, what are you saying? I'm not putting words in your mouth. What are you saying at 24?
I need to fill the guard position. First thing, I need to fill the guard. I need to protect our most valuable asset.
You're not thinking
and establish our ability to score points, because if you can't run the ball, if you can't pass block, this offense is Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, and you you cut your right tackle, and you're saying that Terrence Steele is that your left guard is Connor McGovern.
I'm saying that
at this point, and
your right tackle is at least competitive, and he's dependable. Is he dominant? No. Is he dependable? Yes. What position do you have to fill? Left guard. Absolute must fill left guard, and I think that should be their number one priority, because this team can only go as far as this offense can actually score. We know we're in a scoring league now. I don't care how well this defense plays. I can't see them playing better than they played last year in terms of their ability to turn over the ball. That was just a crazy year, right? So you have to be able to score points, and we've seen how ineffective this team is with running the ball with all the issues that were present on the line last year. And if you can't run the ball, I'm sorry, Dak's not your man to sit back there and sling the thing all over the place. He's not. So recognize that, identify it. Sorry, Cowboys Nation, don't be mad at me. That's the quarterback that's here. He is a baller when you provide him a running game.
Boy, I love playing the devil's advocate. This is fun. I mean, because I agree with that. But then on the other side of it, You have left tackle issues, the reliability, dependability issues with your left tackle. He's aging. You're back in this pickle every year. So if you go back to last season, was the biggest issue? Obviously, Connor Williams had his issues. He's out of here now. But I think it was the durability of your left tackle that really came back to bite you.
Yeah, Tyron missed 6 games.
Yeah.
6 games and 14 or 15 the year before, and then there was a 4 or 5 year stretch where he missed at least 3 starts. So your swing tackle, I love Tyron Smith. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame probably, but your swing tackle has to be prepared to start multiple games. To your point, and I think every season has to be prepared for it.
I think the hardest decision that the Cowboys are going to have to make in the first round of this draft is making the decision either to trade up and grab a left tackle or a sure thing at the left guard position. I think that's going to be the hardest decision they're going to have to make. I feel as if teams don't let left tackles really fall. No. It's just not a thing that happens, okay? But should that present itself, I think that's the only thing that will force them to move up. And if they decide to go up, they're going to be faced with that, guard or tackle. If we draft the tackle, we still have that same hole in our offensive line.
That's all I'm saying.
That's why I say, dang it, he can replace Tyron as soon as Tyron decides to shut it down. But we don't want to piss off Tyron, and at the same time, this guy just be sitting behind him, adding no value to us.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
Unless he can play guard. Unless he can plug in a guard and start off there, and then
So that's the only situation I can see them moving up to grab somebody. They better not do it for a receiver. They better not do it for a cornerback. They better not do it for a defensive end. It better be to shore up this line because you cannot be productive offensively. I don't care who's your offensive coordinator. All right, you can bring Marsh back as far as I'm concerned, right? And you will not move the ball unless you can run the ball in this offense.
No, I completely agree with what you just said, and I think it's left guard as well, but I just feel like the grade on those left guards are way too high. I think you can get a better left guard in the second round, and you'll be okay. I think even at the tackle position, I want to see what Ball has. I mean, we drafted him. I just want to see. I mean, Tyron, we still have Nseki. I hadn't heard anything about him, but
still free agent.
Hey, I totally agree with you, but guess what? The car values are way too high right now, too, but if you need a whip, guess what? You got to pay it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, nothing but facts. But this is not me playing the devil's advocate. If I'm going to trade up and get someone, and this may send you over the rails here, I'm going to get Jordan Davis from Georgia.
I don't have a problem with that.
And let me just be clear about this.
But you can't get him.
Why?
Because you got to give up your whole draft class to get him.
He's been
depends on where he falls.
He trusts mock drafts. He typically has not gone past
5.
It's
5.
15, 16.
Yes.
He ain't going that far. Not possible. Not freaking. Name the last mammoth athlete that you've seen come across this league like that.
I think the way that they're putting these draft guides together, saying that he's not an every down player.
That's the thing. Is it 2 down?
Yeah, 2 guy. Yeah, I think that's impactful, and I think a lot of draft scouts are maybe weighing that. I'm hoping. Come on, Isaiah. Don't give me that look. I'm trying to sell it.
I hear you, and I recognize and I love your strategy.
I'm trying to sell it.
However, there are certain players that come across every generation, every year, whatever you want to say, that you got to grab him. The reason why, because he works in every system.
Yeah.
He works in every system. There's not one team that's like, we don't need that guy.
Baltimore.
We don't need a 340-pound man that runs a 4.7.
Yeah.
We don't need that. Huh?
And I don't know if we've talked enough about run defense here. Because it was improved. Okay, in 2020, it was the second most rushing yards they've ever allowed in the history of the franchise. So it was way better than that. But I want to say they gave up 100-plus yards in 13 games last year.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was and a ton to San Francisco. And that's the last memory you have of this team was not stopping the run, not running the ball, and not protecting Dak. So I don't have a problem with a big defensive tackle coming in that can help shore things up.
That's the only person that I could see them moving up for. So let me kind of go back a little bit. But the reason why I haven't brought him up because I don't think it's even tangible to have a shot at him. I just don't. I hear you. You know I'm a realist though. Every single team can take him and utilize him immediately.
Yeah, and if you trust the mocks, which maybe we shouldn't. But the most practical thing, because I agree with you guys, the most practical thing is, hey, you sit and you wait at 24, and there's a guard that falls to you at 24 that you feel great about. and plugs probably the most glaring immediate hole that you have on your team. That's the most practical thing.
To me, 24.
It's fun to talk about moving around.
24 is just that gray area in the first round that you just don't know what you're getting. I know we've got some quality at 24 before. Dez was 24, but we have to get a guy. I mean, this guy, especially where we are with our depth, and the depth chart isn't looking good in a lot of areas when you go through it. And I'm sorry.
No, you're 100% right. 24, okay, 27, 28 or so was Byron Jones. You hit on Byron Jones. 27 was Taco Charlton. Like, you don't –
Whoa.
It's not an exact science in the late first round. I mean, those top 10 picks are great because you kind of know you're going to get a stud. You don't necessarily know how it's going to pan out. You know?
Big man would be never mind. I'm not going to say.
Jordan Davis?
Yeah. He'll probably be in New York as I'm looking at this list.
You know, and I do everything. I do everything not to have him end up in New York. I don't want to see him in New York. I don't want to see him in Philly.
He's gonna be there.
I don't want to see him as a commander. I mean, there are a lot of places.
He would work in Philly.
Oh,
That'd
man.
Play him
right up
Fletcher
their
Cox.
alley.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the kind of player they need. But he is the kind of player that we need. And the narrative have changed from the 2020 season when we were saying all we need is a middle of the road defense. Well, they were 11th, and then we saw what that got us. We still couldn't stop anyone. What you said, 13 games with more than 100 yards. We couldn't protect that. I mean, come on, man.
Say that's right. I mean, let's. It was a good defense. It was. They were vastly improved, but the biggest thing they did well was they turned the ball over. They turned you over. You know, there's the run game, big plays in the pass game. Those things can still improve for sure. I'm sure Dan Quinn would agree with that.
Like Drake says, I want that stuff forever, man, but I don't think it's going to happen. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and we'll come back because I got a guy that we want to talk about. His name is TP. Coming up next here on Talkin Cowboys.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar, and a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere, and a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching grandma how to video call. And teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Whether you're watching from home or cheering in the stands with Essilor lenses, you'll see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor expert and find the perfect Essilor lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor. Back on Talkin Cowboys from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. It's Rob P. Island, Blue Bonnets, and my man Isaiah staying back. The champ is in the drunk uncle is back. He's in the building with his Top Guns on.
Rob P. with the double B.
Maverick 2 coming out this summer.
Go.
There it is.
The Top Gun 2, sorry. Maverick.
So, guys.
Yes.
Talk about a top gun. And Tony Pollard.
TP.
And I labeled this in the production outline lineup as the curious case of Tony Pollard. And the reason I say that, guys, is that he is the one guy, fan favorite, by the way, and is just growing the momentum of love from Cowboy Nation, that he could be your RB1. If you look at it, and even PFF, and I call PFF because I want to win the argument, says that he is the highest rated running back. Guys, do you see the Dallas Cowboys using Tony Pollard's strengths more in this season and giving Ezekiel Elliott more of a, what do you call that, not off days, but a little bit more rest? Do you see that starting to happen here in Dallas with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott?
I think at this point I've got to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, we say this every year about Tony. Like he looks like he could do more, and then he plays 30% of the snaps, something like that. And he was really good in his role, and he had a couple games where he was banged up too. But I think as long as Zeke is here, I think Zeke's the primary guy. And I think one thing I will say is, Mike McCarthy talked about in training camp last year of getting more of a split to preserve Zeke for the playoffs.
Load management, basically, NBA style. And there was a stretch there where the run game was awesome. I mean, they were getting 150 yards a game first month of the season, more or less. And Zeke's carries were 74 and Tony's were 58. And that's damn near getting close to a 50-50 split. And maybe that's what they were trying to do. And then Zeke gets banged up and the production just wasn't the same. And the offensive line didn't play as well. And they're just, it just didn't click. But I personally am surprised that they played Zeke as much as they did in certain stretches when he clearly looked like he was struggling with that knee that he was dealing with. And he's a warrior, and he doesn't want to come out, and I respect the hell out of him for that. But I was a little surprised there wasn't more Tony in certain spots last year.
To answer your question, Ag, it's no.
It's a no.
It's a no for me. Reason being, there are elements to TP's game that are undeveloped yet that he hopefully, and I'm sure he's working on it this offseason, you can't afford to take Zeke out of the game for. And those areas I'm speaking to is pass blocking. Yeah. People look at Zeke and say, oh, he's lost a step, or oh, he's not as explosive as he used to be, or oh, he's not pulling away from people like he used to be. Yeah, but he's keeping people off of your number one back, and that is Dak Prescott. And there is no replacing a running back who can pass block. Maurice Jones-Drew is one of the unsung heroes in the NFL's history simply because of the fact he was a great running back, but simply because of the fact he was able to pass block. He kept people off his quarterback's back. And that is the same thing that Zeke does. He gets all the paychecks because of his abilities to play an encompassing game in terms of being able to run the ball, in terms of being able to catch the ball at the backfield, and be able to block. He is a part of the protection. So when you have an offensive coordinator named Kellen Moore who likes to throw the ball around more than he likes to run the ball, you can't afford to take the running back off the field who's able to be that sixth man on the line, the sixth man up front, to hold the guys off of your quarterback. When you put TP up there, that's not to say that he's unable or incapable of actually, doing a good job at the pass blocking position or role. It's just he's nowhere near as effective as Zeke. So if you have a tendency to put TP out there, teams are like, who's back there? Oh, okay, we could bring some pressure.
Right.
Versus if you put Zeke back there, it's like, we could send somebody, but he ain't going to get to him because Zeke's going to pick him up. That's the mentality. That's the element of the game that most fans don't identify and don't recognize that go into the decision-making in terms of how much playing time these guys get. Running game was ineffective. You have to pass more. If I have to pass more, that means we have to protect more. That means that we need Zeke in the game.
Now, didn't you see at certain points in the season that Tony Pollard just added an extra dimension to your running game?
Oh, yeah.
This is undeniable.
Sure.
Some of the things that he does. I mean, just his quick twitch ability from the line of scrimmage. Even being able to use him in pass coverage. Now, that's where I was really shocked that he wasn't used as much in the passing game. I think last year, 337 yards receiving. That's not a whole lot. I mean,
again, you know why though, right? Because when he's in the backfield, they're going to bring pressure. So he can't get out. He can't get out into his route because as soon as you see him in the backfield, if it's a passing down and you see those guys go into a pass, I'm sending somebody. There's a thing called a green dog. right? So you're familiar with it, okay? Most fans maybe not. Green dog means that as soon as I see these guys pass block, as soon as I see everybody consume, I'm sending a guy. Yeah. Even though that wasn't my initial plan. Your initial, as a linebacker, initially you weren't called to blitz. But if you see that guy even sit back there and it's a pass, go.
Right.
Why? Because I'm confident that you can run through that running back's chest or get around him or whatever, throw him out the club like Jazzy Jeff on Fresh Prince and get to the quarterback. If Zeke is back there, I'm not making that same call.
But how much does that have to do with scheme, though? I mean, as far as how you're going to use Tony Pollard, and I'm on it. And I said this on last week's show about using him like Deebo Samuels, and I'm the same schematics as far as height, weight, all of those things. The way that the league is going, your running back, your receivers are going to have to do a little bit of both. We saw how they use CeeDee Lamb sometimes as a running back as well. You want to have that explosion and diversity in your offense to be able to use your guys like that. When you talk about Zeke, you're really talking about Zeke as an extra offensive lineman instead of a running back.
Well, I mean, but there's so many. We know how healthy Zeke can run the ball.
Of course.
We know how healthy Zeke can catch the ball out the backfield. We also know how healthy Zeke can keep guys off of Dak. That's the trifecta. That's the reason why he gets paid what he gets paid.
Plays all the snaps.
That's why he plays all the snaps. We can't say that about TP yet. Right, TP can catch the ball out the backfield. He can run the ball very effectively and explosive, right? The element, the wow factor, but the blocking hasn't came yet. So you can't rely on him the same way you can rely on Zeke. Now, if TP added that element to his game, if somehow, some way he all of a sudden became a dominant pass blocker, then it's a conversation. But as long as that third element is missing, you can't afford to take Zeke off the field for a majority of the game.
He's been great in his role as a change of pace, to your point, Heck. And I will say there's been times where he's been asked to carry the load when Zeke's been out or banged up, and it's been tough sledding for him too. I mean, sometimes when you got that package of plays as a change of pace, it's easier. But I'm with you. Like, I think we could stand to see more of Tony Pollard. And I wonder, like, you got me thinking about, Zeke's can almost serve as like an extra lineman. What about two back sets where you see both guys more? I got curious and I looked it up. That was only 2% of the time they went to 21 personnel last year. That was 26 snaps according to Sharp Football Stats. And of course, 3 wide receiver sets, 11 personnel, they're going, that's 2/3 of the time, 12 personnel about 25% of the time. They don't do it very much, but they do play off of each other very well, Zeke and Tony, and you could think maybe you could use more of that if you're Kellen Moore.
And I think about the front office. They really have their hand in the lion's mouth right now because with Zeke's contract, it's impossible to get out of this season. So obviously he's going to be there. And when I talk about Tony Pollard and him playing, he's going to be at the negotiation table here after this season. So you're going to have to make a decision at the running back position. And, oh, by the way, CeeDee Lamb and also Trayvon Diggs, you're going to have to start thinking about those big contracts that are coming down as well. And David Hellman wrote a awesome article on DallasCowboys.com about this matter, but I just feel as though when you look at it from an organizational standpoint, you're going to have to relieve some of that pressure from even a salary standpoint, and we've seen the way that this organization functions when you press him on salary, and that's why I think that Tony Pollard, you have to try and see what he has in those said trifectas to see how you can use this guy in the future. You have to be thinking of the future if you're the Cowboys at the running back position.
That's right. He's a free agent after next season. Everybody thinks Zeke's salary is going to be not palatable after one more season. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how it could look in a year from now. But when in an offseason where you lose Amari Cooper, and, you're probably going to go in the draft and find a receiver to help. When we're talking about holes and depth and trying to replace production, it sure seems like an opportunity to try to get Tony Pollard more involved. Even if it's not an every down thing, like you said, because you're right. Like Zeke's pass protection, that might have been the thing people talked about the most last year because he was banged up. He was not himself. He wasn't as productive.
But he still had impact.
But he was still, some of his best highlights were just decleating guys and giving Dak an extra second.
Yeah, doing what you can do. And we saw that, but I'm just saying for Tony Pollard, this is with all of the love that he gets and all of the potential that he has to be explosive in this offense, you would think that this season, especially with the gaping holes that you assume that you have at the wide receiver position, that you can scheme for him.
You know that two-back set that you're talking about, split backs?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can do that if you have a solid offensive line.
The 49ers do it a lot. And I think
and they had a solid offensive line.
They do, and Debo's different too. Debo's built like a tight end. You know,
you don't call you Debo if you're skinny. So
I know. But that's why, like,
and TP's like, I think he's 6 foot, just 200 pounds, just maybe over 200 pounds.
212. Okay, I'm just saying.
Most of the guys who are coming to hit him are what? They're coming from 5 yards depth. At least, all right. If he say he's 5 yards in the backfield, right? They're 3 yards off the ball, so they're coming 8 yards downhill, and they're weighing what, 230 to 250,
at least. And this is all 32. This is all 32 teams are dealing with this. And the thing that I think the Cowboys have to find is another explosive weapons with what they lost. And that's why I point to him being that missing wheel. And maybe that's what everyone else isn't thinking about, that they have plans for Tony Pollard in the future. And with everything else that's coming down the line with, I don't know, with these contracts, man, things are about to get sticky in a couple of years on how they maneuver with I'm just looking at the future, dog. There's some landmines up ahead. But guys,
if he has a big year, it could be like Jalen Brunson last night, where it's like, I don't know if we could pay his next contract
fast enough.
Poor Mavs, man. That's going to be a tough contract to re-sign him.
I don't know if you guys. Well, I know you are, P, but look. The NBA playoffs is just off the chain right now. The Mavericks, that game last night was incredible. Great
wins in 10 years.
And I'm sorry, guys. Did any of you guys go to the boxing match on Sunday? You went to the boxing match? Wasn't it off the chain?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't go?
Not that I
haven't been in a while. The last one I went to was a Pacquiao fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Errol Spence Jr.
I've not been to an Errol Spence fight yet.
You got to go.
Yeah.
It is turned into.
The next one's going to be nice, though.
Yeah. It is turned into something at AT&T Stadium that's really nice.
Yeah.
And y'all, man, all of Dallas shows up. And it's been a great weekend of sports, not only for the Spence fight, but Mavs get a win. And, hey, man, we've been talking TCT all day today. Join us next week as Kyle finds his way from, I don't know where he is, but somewhere sandy and hot.
Where in the world is Kyle Yobers?
Where in the world is Kyle Yobers? But join us next Tuesday on Talkin Cowboys. Get it up. Get it up. Mama, they did it again. Later.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.